You're going live. Watch them out.
It's always been hard for me.
Me too, for some reason.
Apple didn't fall far from the tree.
Heard that before.
Hello. Yep. Yep, I think so. Hopefully I did. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, we're all sitting here ready to look through a package. There's only 10 people here. I told Beth Newton to come to the meeting to see how they went. And I said maybe I sent her the wrong, had her come to the wrong one. She runs out screaming, I don't know what's going on. I missed them. Yeah, I guess Dallas City's got a couple sick. Yeah, the superintendent, Michelle, after leave, quarantine again. Unfortunately.
Got about 20 seconds.
About 20 seconds. About 20 seconds. We'll start it. Yes. Yeah, the three guys are out here: Short, Snyder, and Supernaut, checking their temperature and asking all the questions.
7 o'clock. Call the meeting to order and have a roll call, please.
Anders.
Yes.
Beth.
Here by phone.
Yeah. Shannon.
Here.
Houston.
Here.
Weak, yes. Wild Tillman. Yes.
Please stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Go to item number 4, approval of minutes of a special meeting, July the 9th, 2020. E-learning planning regular meeting on July 15th, 2020. An executive session of July 15th, 2020. Executive session of July 23rd, 2020. Special meeting of August 10th, 2020.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second to make those approvals. Anyone have any questions? Call the roll, please.
Shannon.
Yes.
Beth. Yes. Wild Tillman. Yes. Anders.
Yes.
Weak, yes. Houston.
Yes. And we'll move on to item number 5, approval of bills. The total bills for this month.
Hey Tracy, could you slide the phone up maybe a little bit closer? I can't hear very well.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
$459,116.11. The total, you can find it on page 28 of your packet. If you're interested.
Make a motion we pay the bills as presented. You can second.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second.
Did we get our second?
Beth.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the bills. Any discussion on the motion? Questions? Call the roll, please.
Wild Tillman. Yes. Anders.
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
Beth.
Yes.
Weak, yes. Shannon?
Yes.
And we'll move on to recognition of visitors. We have a number of distinguished people joining us here tonight. We welcome all of you. Thanks for coming. And item number 7 is public comment. And I note that we have 3 people signed in to make a comment. I guess I would remind everyone that the comments can be limited. We don't certainly expect any personal attacks on anyone, and the time can be limited. Now, I'm not going to limit the time right now because we've only got 3 people, but I will ask you to be mindful of the others that are waiting to speak. And our first person who would like to speak to us tonight regarding fall sports is Kevin Dietrich, 512 North Marion Street, Carthage, Illinois. If you'd like to take the floor here at the end of the table.
Where do I stand?
Anywhere you like.
That's good enough. Good enough here, right here?
Yeah,
Okay.
don't get too close.
Okay. I think I know everybody personally that's sitting at this table, at least it's here. And for me to do something like this is a little unusual. I think you all know me pretty well too. So this is how important it is to me, I guess, that I'm going to get up and read this letter to you here. So the COVID-19 pandemic is an emotional topic with many theories and opinions abounding. We would like to avoid personal opinions and refer to the guidelines that have been handed down by the agencies that govern our district. It is our understanding that our school is governed by the ISBE and that athletics activities are additionally governed by the IHSA. The IHSA has further deferred to Governor Pritzker and the IDPH. Here is the guidance we've been given. ISBE guidance. Fall 2020 learning recommendations dated July 23rd allow school districts to implement in-person, blended, and/or remote learning. We are not questioning your decision to choose remote learning for the IW district. That is well within your guidance you received from the ISBE. IHSA guidance. The modified sports plan was released July 29th, stating that boys and girls golf, girls tennis, cross country, and girls swimming and diving will remain as fall sports and can proceed to start on August 10th as scheduled. These sports have been classified as low risk by the IHSA in accordance with Governor Pritzker and the IDPH. Boys swimming and diving, baseball, softball, track and field have also been classified low risk. Boys swimming has been assigned to winter sports while basketball, softball, track and field are scheduled for summer sports. On August 14th, the IDPH approved the IHSA's modified plan. The IHSA has further stated its bylaws do not prevent schools who are conducting remote learning from participating in sports and activities. Participation will remain a local school and district decision, regardless of the learning plan a high school is utilizing. As stated above, the choice of whether to allow our district to participate in sports and activities belongs to the district. We fully understand you are not mandated to participate. However, we would like to be informed of the reason our district is not currently participating. Perhaps we were waiting on the IDPH to formally approve the IHSA plan, or perhaps it is due to the choice the district has made to conduct 100% remote learning. If so, we would ask you to consider the precedent you are setting by not allowing golf and cross country at this time. If remote learning continues at IW the entire year, will our students not be allowed to participate in winter and summer low-risk sports of swimming, baseball, softball, and track and field either? Furthermore, the possible reasons behind remote learning: not enough classroom space in our building to comply with social guidelines, busing and transportation issues, concerns from district employees, lack of available substitute employees, coordinating family schedules with our elementary district, or simply just too many people in one enclosed space do not automatically become reasons to disqualify us from participating in the low-risk sports. We understand that the number of COVID-19 cases in our county has been increasing over the past several weeks. According to the Hancock County Health Department COVID-19 update on August 19th, today, our county has a total of 106 laboratory-confirmed positive cases in the year 2020, with 46 active cases at the time of the update. One person may contend that the recent increase in the number of cases is cause for concern. Another may feel that 46 active cases out of 17,708 county residents, or 0.26%, is relatively low. Both stances are personal opinions. Due to the variety of personal opinions that exist regarding COVID-19, we feel the district would be wise to follow the guidelines of the agencies that govern it and hold it accountable. The ISBE and the IHSA also, along with Governor Pritzker and IDPH, have all approved our participation in low-risk sports. In addition, nowhere in the guidance we have received from our local hospital or health department have we been told that socially distanced activities such as golf and running are to be avoided at this time. We would allow the district to allow our students the opportunity to participate. Parents and guardians can then decide whether to allow or limit their child's participation by making the best decision for their own family. Here's a list of schools doing 100% remote learning. I know there are even more than this. Bloomington High School, Brown County High School, Mount Sterling, Canton High School, all Chicago Public Schools, Monmouth Roseville, Normal Community and Normal West, all Peoria Public Schools, all Springfield Public Schools, Stevenson High School in Lincolnshire, Unity High School in Mendon. Of those schools, Canton is the only school on the list not having sports right now. I know we mentioned at the beginning of this letter that we wanted to leave personal opinions and emotions out of our plea. We will only include this one. Imagine if every school in our area and nearly every school in the state of Illinois was playing football as usual this fall. Right now, they'd be practicing and getting ready for that. The excitement would be in all of us. We've felt that before. And the ISBE, IHSA, IDPH, Governor Pritzker, and all local health guidance, all local health agencies gave us the green light to play football. And we were the only school in the district in our area that wasn't allowing our students to play football. Imagine the uproar we would have from coaches, parents, students, fans, community members in general. There are some that will disagree with us and feel the kids shouldn't be allowed to play sports if they don't go to school. They are going to school. These are unusual times and may call for unusual decisions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. The second person on the list is Zach Houston, Carthage, Illinois. He's the athletic director here at Illini West High School, and he'd like to speak on fall sports.
I don't want to repeat too much of what Kevin said, but I certainly could. I think all of you probably received the letter that I wrote and submitted to Mrs. Shilson. I know the difficult decision you guys all made last week in regards to remote learning was not easy and took a lot of thought. And there was a lot of guidelines and restrictions that led that decision to go to remote learning. Those guidelines and restrictions that you face in the school building aren't necessarily there on the golf course, aren't necessarily there at a cross-country practice or a cross-country meet. Yes, there are guidelines and restrictions, but they're guidelines and restrictions that allow these sports to happen. And I think that we've got athletes and coaches who are willing to make the sacrifice, the necessary sacrifice to allow us to play these fall sports. They wouldn't necessarily be easy to follow, but they're very doable, and a lot of them have been doing it in some of their summer events. So, just a couple small examples of the IHSA guidance that they've recently had approved by the IDPH is even a little bit more restrictive than the ISB guidelines that they might make a school follow. Even some of the IDPH guidelines, what they're going to, as of right now, the approved IHSA guidance is that golfers, just a small example of golfers going from ball to ball or shot to shot would have to cover, and then as soon as they got to their ball, they could unmask, hit their ball, then put their mask back up. That's the current guidance from the IHSA, which is actually more strict than what the ISB guidance is when they're outside social distance. And even our own school has a policy that if we were in-person learning, we could actually go outside and get mask breaks for our kids as long as they're 6 feet apart. So that's just an example of guidance that is out there that maybe is more protective for our students that the IHSA currently has. So I guess in closing is, I understand the guidance and restrictions that are in the school building, and I get that, I get the decision to go to remote learning. However, those guidance and restrictions aren't there on the golf course. They're not on the cross-country meet, and the guidance that they have allows us to do those sports. So I would like to see our kids have an opportunity to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And our third person that would like to speak with us is Christine Murphy. She's from Carthage, Illinois. Would like to speak to us on fall sports.
Hi there. I also don't want to say too much more than what these guys have said, but to reiterate that, as a golf coach at Illini West, we would certainly be following all of those guidelines. In addition, it's very easy to play golf. I don't know about cross country because I'm not as familiar, but it's very, I don't run. It's very easy for us to space out on the golf course. We've been playing golf all summer in tournaments and have kept that 20, 30 feet distance. There have been some new rules that we've played over the summer that I think have been good additions to golf. Things like one person on a putting green at a time, and the other person, they putt their ball all the way and then they leave that putting surface. So there are ways, in addition with the mask, that we will certainly be following, and I'll just say that from, if the choice is to let our students play, we will do all that we can to keep our students safe. There are Illini West athletes. They have a lot of things that are, changing in their world, and I would love for them to be able to participate in something that is considered low risk by our state standards and IHSA and IDPH and those things. So I would love to, plead with you to let our students play something that is considered safe and low risk, and we'll certainly do everything on our part as coaches to do that and keep them safe. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be addressing the fall sports issue tonight under item number 10D, like dog. And right now, we're on item number 8, which is consent agenda. Consent agenda consists of approving the agenda, surplus items, policy updates, first reading, update 7.40, 2.220, 7.190, 7.340, 2.220-E9, 7.345, 4.180. I could read all of those, but I don't expect that would make any difference to most of you folks. So, what's your pleasure on the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna hang up and call back again, because I can't hear it all.
Okay, call back. You gotta vote though, okay?
Are we still in attendance, or?
Yeah, she's got technical problems. She's gonna call right back.
Okay, we'll wait.
Yeah, we'll wait and see if it.
Can I ask a quick question while we're waiting? The 18 laptops, do we not need those?
They're broke, right, Chris?
18.
Your surplus items.
Oh, those surplus items are all broken laptops. Sorry.
Hello, Beth.
Okay, we'll try this.
All
Yeah,
right.
next to John, because when John did mine before, it's perfect.
It's with John.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, we waited for you to come back, so we haven't gone anywhere. We're on a consent agenda, to approve the agenda. There's some surplus items listed, and policy updates, first reading. So,
I made the motion.
I have a motion. Second?
there we go. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any questions from anyone? Call the roll, please.
Houston,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Dukenyak, yes. Anders.
Yes.
Wild Tillman.
Yes.
Shannon.
Yes.
We'll move on to item number 9, reports. 9A, assistant principal.
The only thing I had was, it's really outdated now. I had given you the cleaning schedule that we came up with for in-person learning, so it doesn't really matter now, so that's all I've got. At the time I submitted it, we were still in person, so you can look at that at your own pleasure, I guess. Any questions on anything?
Thanks for all you've done.
Yep,
You're welcome.
thanks. Yep, bro. Yep.
We'll move on to item number 9B, principal's report.
I didn't really have anything to add. I mean, it's, everything in the report kind of speaks for itself. Although we did finish up the freshman loop virtual remote, however you want to call it. And it includes me welcoming the freshmen and Mr. Short, and Assistant Superintendent, and some of the teachers. So it's about 10 minutes long. It's not really what it could be if it's in person. So we'll just have to wait. And when we do come back, we're going to do another one where we would have a virtual tour of the school so the freshmen know what's coming. But other than that, I don't have anything else that I wanted to share. Anybody else?
Anyone have any questions or comments for Mr. Schneider?
Thank you for
Nope.
what you've done.
Yeah, thanks for all you guys work. Yep.
Go ahead.
Please thank your office staff too. I know they've been hard at work.
Yes, they have.
Yes.
We'll move on to item number 9C, like Charlie, and that's the superintendent's report.
Now, I think I'm gonna discuss our discussion action, so there's no sense of discussing it twice, so we can move right on to discussion action.
We'll move right on to discussion action then. Discussion action item number 10A is the fiscal year 2021 budget.
Right, in your, you've got a big book like this, and in the, I believe, second section, you'll come across preliminary budget totals.
Second section.
And this doesn't need approved tonight, this is what we'll go over again in September. It looks like this, it's right after that.
Right after
No,
this,
no, it's in that part right there,
in this part right here.
yep. I believe,
Yeah. Just keep going.
there you go.
Preliminary budget totals.
So this is the, most in deficit spending I've ever had in my career. So I really wanted to make sure that the board understood what was going on to create these, red numbers. When you look at education fund, we have 4 students going to Chatham, which is very expensive. You have to pay for their transportation there and even on the bus to take them there and pick them up. You also have the tuition at Chatham, which is expensive. The tuition is reimbursable, but usually comes about a year late, so it doesn't help with this budget. And then transportation, you get reimbursed some of it, but it also comes very late. We had a $50,000 maintenance grant that came in fiscal year 20. We're not expending that until fiscal year 21, so it offsets those balances. We also have a sped route with an aid to Quincy, and we have one that goes to Macomb. There's extra cost for bus aids, to do the medical checks, and extra cost for custodians to do COVID-19 checks. So as you go down through there, you can see the reds, and then you can see an estimated total fund balances. So if you turn the page, one more page, because that's alarming. That's a terrible number, I admit it. So then I thought, what's it gonna look like next year? Well, if you turn the page, those are the things that are gonna happen, and I'm not gonna mention the personnel, because that would be a closed session topic. But you can kind of see there where we start saving money and we get back on track. We can discuss that more closed session if you want, since it deals with personnel. So that's the budget. Look through this. If you have any questions over the next month, please give me a call. Next month we'll have our budget hearing, and then you'll be asked to approve the budget. So please don't wait till the September board meeting to ask questions. Please get the questions answered ahead of time. And this is preliminary, so these numbers could change a little bit, but not much.
If you have questions on the budget, and you get them answered ahead of time, keep in mind that the rest of us might not be quite as sharp as what you were, and the rest of us would appreciate it, even after you've gotten your answers, if you would bring them up again at the September board meeting so we could all hear the answers. Okay. So, do you need to approve that then?
Nope.
No. We will be having a hearing in September before our regular September board meeting on that budget. Anyone out there would like a copy of the preliminary budget, I'm sure it can be made available as public information.
Call the district office, we'll get you a copy made.
We charge them for the copy?
No,
We're even charging for the copy, it's a jillion pages.
well, they won't get all that, they'll just get the actual budget form.
Oh,
We can only give out so many treats.
That's right.
okay, we'll move on to item number 10B, like boy, which is the farm lease for the farm ground up by the northern part of the district.
Our leasee, has agreed to continue the lease at the same arrangement as last time. I thought maybe he'd want to lower the
It's on page 87.
payment, but he didn't. So it's the same lease as last time. And we did make the agreement that we would get the lime up to where it should be at this time, but then in 3 years, it should be continued at that level. So that'll be put on when he'll call and have it put on and then billed to us. So.
Anyone have any questions on the farm lease? Basically, it's a re-up of the same thing we had for the last 3 years. It's a 3-year lease. The payment is certainly within going rate, not a little bit higher than going rate. I think he's done well with our ground up there. I understand that he's kept the ground up fairly well and made his payments on time. We appreciate that. And of course, our investment in that farm ground has paid off quite handsomely over leaving that money in the bank at the interest rates we were getting. So,
I make a motion to approve the farm lease, to continue the farm lease.
I'll second it.
we have a motion and a second to continue the farm lease with our current tenant. Is there any questions on the motion? Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Houston,
Yes.
Wild Tillman,
Yes.
Shannon,
Yes.
Beth, Anders,
Yes.
Weak, yes.
I will mention that Kim talking about the line, we did establish kind of a baseline fertilizer levels, line and or pH level, so he is maintaining it and it will be maintained in case anyone asks.
We move on to item 10C, which is update of the 2021 risk management plan.
Yeah, this is pretty telling. COVID-19 is on page 13. Somebody asked me the other day when 2020 was going to become a cuss word.
Yeah. Amazing, it's on page 13.
So one of the things that we need to do is reapprove the risk management plan, because we added this section about COVID-19 and what we would be taking out of toward to cover those COVID-19 expenditures. And that's the only change from the last time.
So you need approval for the new risk management
Updated.
plan. I will make a motion to approve the new risk management plan.
I'll second.
A motion and a second before us to update the current 2021 risk management plan. Any questions on that? Call roll, please.
Beth,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Shannon,
Yes.
Weak,
Yes.
Anders,
Yes.
Wild Tillman.
Yes.
And we're gonna move on to discussion action item 10D, like dog, fall sports, cross country and golf.
First, I'd like to say thanks to Zach. He's been keeping up on this since last spring. We've had lots and lots of discussions. We had discussions about opening a weight room last summer. Had to wait on IDPH. Came in with this fall cross-country and golf. And I told him I had two problems. IDPH had not approved it, and I really had a tough time with not going to school and having sports. So I said, you have to make a pretty compelling argument for me to change my mind on the not going to school and having sports. And I think the people here tonight have made that argument. The other thing was the IDPH had to approve the IHSA plan, because I'm not going to approve our students doing anything without the Illinois Department of Public Health approval and stamp on it during these times. So on Friday, they approved it. Zach and I talked before Friday last week, and I told him it hasn't been approved. He says, well, what are we gonna do? And I said, well, we have a board meeting next week. I can put you on the agenda and you can come and talk to the board. And he thought that was an okay idea. So the IDPH has now approved it. You've heard the argument of why we should have fall sports. And still be able to be on remote and that not be a conflicting interest there. So I would ask the board if they're okay with having sports this fall.
Yeah, one question I would have, Kim, is you and I talked before, but just to reiterate, the transportation you believe you can handle and social distance and everything.
Well, they have to take a bus. They will not be allowed to just take the little white buses, and they're cost seats anyway, they're hard to clean. So we have to have a bus driver. When we had our transportation meeting a couple weeks ago, I asked the bus drivers who was willing to drive extra trips. None of them were. If you know our bus drivers, you know the age of our bus drivers. There's reasons why they don't want to do that. But since then, I had a couple bus drivers that called me and said, yeah, Kim, if you have sports, I'm more willing to drive. So we do have a couple now.
And then the shuttle too, you said you could run.
Yeah, well,
Take them home.
yeah, we can run a shuttle.
I can make a quick comment on that too, with the shuttle. Currently, we only have one person who is signed up for a golf or cross country who is interested in a shuttle, so that would be pretty limited right now anyway.
Okay.
And more people can still sign up, correct?
Well,
Can they or not?
We put the sign up sheet out multiple times throughout the summertime and we've come to we have come to a number. Now, if that number was to rise, certainly it would rise, but one of the suggestions made by the IHSA and IDPH is once you start, that's your number. We're not gonna have people afterwards.
Right.
So,
Are you talking golf or the cross country having a number? Which one did you establish a number on, golf or cross country already?
currently we have 15 students signed up for golf, and then we have 10 students signed up for cross country. That's who has filled out the multiple forms. I know there's been a lot of them that people can tell you that I've sent out to people this summer, so that's what we have right now.
Ryan, how do you keep cross-country kids from packing up and they don't have that social distance when they're running their meets?
In the meet, there's talk about staggering starts, doing some of that by level and those kinds of things, but, rarely once they get out there, are there more than, 3 or 4 together at one time. And of course, and for that, it's only briefly too, so, yeah.
Well, I know Christine established that, and I can assure you will, is one thing I don't want to hear is, well, such and such doesn't make us wear a mask.
Yeah.
'Cause that's, in my mind, if that happens, it's done, in my mind, because I don't care what political side you're on or how you believe, we have guidelines, we have to follow. And we've been good about following before, and I'm just sure that we will, because this case, you know, this individual case, we need to really make sure, because nobody likes wearing a mask.
Did you have any trouble with kids wearing masks in the gym over the summer? No, I thought we would.
No, they were good about, you know, stepping outside and getting away if they needed to breathe. You know, if it was a pressing issue, I mean, they would, I even saw kids run, like, this kind of thing, which at the time, no one said, you know, initiate, run outside, get away from people and get a breath. You know, we didn't have any issues.
You think they get enough air by running with a mask on and stuff?
I would suggest having two. The only problem we ran into is if the kids start to sweat through them, especially if they have a thinner mask, it seems
Right.
it's suffocating. I would maybe cross country 2 or 3.
Yeah, and then Zach said the golfers can pull it down when they're putting or teeing off or whatever.
Yeah, the current guidelines that the IHSA has had approved by the IDPH is that while the golfer is actively participating, which means hitting the golf ball or lining it up or whatever, they can pull their mask down. But once they're done with that, they pull their mask back up and they move on to their next shot. That's the current guideline, which again is even, you know, even more strict than those of your outside social distancing rules in regards to masks. So, because if I'm playing golf with my dad and he's half on the other side of the fairway, because we both wouldn't be in the middle of the fairway, we'd both be on the opposite sides. Okay?
I'm down the right side.
Right? I can have my mask down in theory because we're more than 6 feet apart from each other. But the IHSA regulations right now don't allow for that. Right now, that's what their rules are right now.
I would also say that, I mean, Zach and I have talked, we only have 6, like a varsity golf team is only made up of 6 people. So we would only be traveling with 6 people. We're not taking all 15, we're not having JV, I mean, you know, if the JV want to play or something, we can do it out here at a practice that's spaced out, only have the JV practice or something like that. But we are only looking at traveling for competition with 6 athletes.
And the coaches are gonna have to ride the bus both ways. Because we can't have the bus driver have to try to keep track of the kids are keeping their mask on and,
Absolutely.
Drive the bus.
what are you gonna do about food? Dinner. Usually, you know.
Follow the guidelines.
Yeah. I'll be honest, we hardly ever stopped with golf because everybody wanted to get home. And we always pack food of our own on the golf course because you're out there walking for 2 or 3 hours and you want to have a snack. So they're going to have their own prepackaged stuff that they bring, and they can't be sharing food. You know, follow the guidelines that are
That's what you're gonna do too, Ryan.
I think one of the guidelines on the bus is no eat or drink on the bus, right? Isn't that one of the guidelines that they have?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, follow guidelines. And most kids, I don't know, in my, history, I guess, as a coach, the bus trip home is fairly lonely anyway.
We had about 1.
So, you know, most of the people end up riding home with mom or dad. And so, I mean, that's generally won't be much of an issue for kids that you don't want to come.
What's the guidance say about if someone becomes, one of the athletes is positive?
Well, what would the guidance say if a student becomes positive in the school building?
Well, I know that. I guess I'm asking, is that the same that IHSA and IDPH has put out for sports?
Yeah, I mean, whatever the guidance would be, I'm be honest with you, I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but I mean, at what point, like if you're saying like if a kid comes to a match and he's got symptoms, or just come down with a
No. I'm saying that what happens when one of your athletes is COVID positive, and then it turns around, you have a second athlete that's COVID positive. In a school building, you shut down. Correct. So you discontinue and shut down sports when that happens?
I would assume that the sports probably have to follow a similar guidance. You know, if a kid becomes, just like anything right now, you know, if somebody becomes COVID positive, they you know, when you go to these events, you know, these spectators, they come to the table, they sign in, you know, there's a contact tracing thing that'll happen.
Well, and And the coaches are gonna have to take temperatures and do the
Right.
medical checks also.
That's all, yeah, and the weight training, they did that all summer long. That's something our kids are actually used to, the ones who come out to the weight room. But, you know, so the assumption would be if somebody's COVID positive, then there would be the contact tracing that would take place. And then, I mean, if one of the golfers or coaches or whoever comes out with a high risk situation or high risk exposure, they got to quarantine 14 days. I mean, you would move on from there. It would be similar to what the school would do, right? If it was COVID positive in
Right.
the school.
My question for Kim is, much like we've all read about in the paper with Southeastern Todd Fox or whatever, as far as I'm concerned, you would have the authority to nix it. I mean, we don't have to come back here and decide and stuff. I mean, you can do it.
My question would be, you know, they've had signups for football and volleyball and everything, but not having those sports, if you have more kids want to participate in this, so we're gonna limit them then, or they're
No,
gonna have
that's how they
tryouts?
signed up.
What's that?
That's how they said they wanted to participate. That's not a limit.
But I mean, with us if we were to approve this, they could have more kids sign up or come out, but.
Is
they'd
that,
have
how long would they have to sign up?
Jeez. I
But
mean,
the reason he's asking,
I mean,
same
I
reason
sent
I
an
am.
email, back in May, asking people to sign up for sports for 2021.
Can you send another email and have a Monday deadline?
I mean, cause if we
Well,
had football, would they allow, or volleyball, would they allow them, if we had football or volleyball, would they be allowed to come and play up till the date of practice? Cause we just now approved this. Or would we limit it to the kids that signed up in May?
In the normal year, we would have started golf a week and a half ago. You know, that's when everybody else started golf across, you know. So I sent out 2 or 3 weeks ago I bet 500 different emails to, hey, if we get approval, if the IHSA's plan gets approved by the IDPH and we get to do golf, please sign up so we know exactly how many kids we're gonna have so we can plan for that. And I got 15 responses for golf and 10 for cross country. So I guess my opinion would be if they haven't signed up by now, they're really gonna sign up. I mean, they've had multiple opportunities to do it. I'm not gonna say that if a kid decides, hey, coach, can I golf? You know, yeah. But at some point, there's gotta be no more people. I mean, when does that start? So,
Well,
I mean, my point is they've had plenty of opportunities to sign up.
I'm asking, when will it start for football and volleyball then? Is that over since it would have been?
No, right. Practice hasn't started for those sports yet. I would consider golf and cross country kind of has started. I realize that our kids haven't exactly started their official practice, but I would argue that golf and cross country has started. We're just late to the game.
But if somebody wanted to sign up, they could. The reason I'm asking is I've heard the guy say is I'm so bored and we're not gonna have football or anything, I might play golf. I wouldn't do it, but I wouldn't do that, but I'm just saying.
Right, and like I said, I've sent that communication out multiple times to parents and everybody, hey, do you kids want to sign up for this? And I've got 15 responses to golf and 10.
Okay, so when's the first meet, Christine? Are you if we approve this, are you practicing?
Our schedule is up in the air a little bit, so.
Yeah.
I mean,
You'd have to practice first, cause you'd have to have
Yeah,
these
'cause
kids show up.
You know, that's just where we're headed is, if some people, because we're not gonna do anything else, they wanna participate. I can't even golf, so.
When was it announced that there would be no fall sports? Like
never been announced.
football,
Oh, the traditional?
yeah. They're traditional. When was that
July
announced?
29th.
And
Yeah,
so
they
they,
can know
they
that.
knew
I
that
can't
on
golf.
July 29th, and then you sent out your last email a week and a half ago that we
Minimum.
should have started, but we haven't. But if we do, this is,
I sent an email, it was probably before that, because in fact, the Monday, that was July 29th was a Wednesday, I talked to Christine the Monday before that and said, hey, I think the IHSA is gonna do something here where they're gonna try to get golf going, and I said, we need to come up with some kind of plan before this announcement comes out from the IHSA, and they can't go the whole big out and say golf and cross country are gonna be allowed in the fall. So from July 29th, I had an email typed up, I might have sent it out that Thursday or Friday. Don't quote me right now, I have to actually go back and look.
It was the 29th, Corey County.
The email I sent out? Okay, so I sent an email out July 29th that said if you're interested in golf or cross country. I mean, so it's been,
So they know.
and they've had time.
I just was trying to figure out if we were gonna, if we
I couldn't
approve it, if we're
remember
gonna limit the
all
kids,
sports,
so.
I gotcha.
Do we have, for golf then, do we have one or two coaches, and then for cross country, what do we have?
We have one coach and a volunteer for both, correct, Zach?
What we have currently is two, as a head coach for cross country and a head coach for golf.
Right?
I've sent in a couple different times to have a couple volunteers approved for golf. I'm not sure if that made it onto this month's agenda or not, but we've got two volunteers who have, who are both fully, got the IHSA approval, got the
Who are
ASAP
they?
stuff, they've taken the concussion test, they've taken the performance enhancing substance test. One of them's Corey House right now, and Shane Murphy. And then currently, we don't have any, we have, the Coach Bliss as the cross country coach. So,
Personnel's on the agenda.
Yep.
So,
certainly, I would not want to tell a student who's interested in, who's truly interested in a sport that they can't do it. I wouldn't do that, you wouldn't do that. But at some point, you know, you've gotta cut it off, you just have to, that's the way sports work. It's not, you know, it's not a, it's not just a social event, or a social, you know, deal. You know, you've got to be truly interested.
well, you need to be serious about it.
I would, yeah.
I mean, you need to be committed and serious.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is you know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying someone won't be
No,
serious,
no, I
but
know.
We've just lost volleyball and football, so it could have opened them up to
Right.
golf. So I just want to know in our motion, are we gonna allow more kids, or is it restricted at the 15? You know, for golf and the 10 for cross country.
How about, what's the maximum you ever had, Ryan, on cross country?
Here we had, I think, 20, 22.
And then Christine, you know golf?
This is 15 as many as we would have, but Zach and I talked this over, and I know we talked with the golf course too, as far as maximum numbers and what they would feel comfortable with out there as far as numbers, and if we had more than that, we'd either stagger practice or use a, you know, possibly a practice field area as a grassy field. I purchased 4 nets that we can space out social distance with practice balls and those kinds of things, so.
Well, every person doesn't go to every meet, correct?
Right, I'm just talking about. If
Yeah, I
there's
know
more
practice, but I mean,
practice, we
yeah.
certainly limit, we're gonna limit the number that we have at the golf course
Right.
for practice. It doesn't matter, you know, if we have 30 kids, but they're not all going to the golf course at the same time to
Right.
practice, we're not doing that. And those guidelines we've already kind of written and talked to the golf course in preparation, just if this was approved.
Okay, what do you think we ought to do?
I guess I'm unclear. Can they sign up until Monday? Yes or no?
I would have a problem with it, but if we get this approval, we're probably gonna hit the ground running tomorrow with practice.
That's fine.
And part of the problem is some of the guidance is, we're not gonna don't add people late. So, I'm okay with adding people by Monday. However, again, I just want to reiterate that they've had plenty of chances to sign up.
When is the first golf meet that you could go to?
Maybe go to one next week.
Yep, next Tuesday.
And would you try to do that? If we approved it tonight, if there was approval, would you try to do that?
Absolutely, yeah, because the other schools that have started August 10th, so they've got some time under their belt there.
And Ryan, when is your first meet that you could go to, or whatever you call it?
Currently 15, possibly 12.
Kim, if they had no Monday, what could it be? I mean, I'm just asking. I don't know. I'm trying to make it work for everybody.
That's what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
Zach said that once you start, your number has to stop. Is that correct?
It was strongly recommended to not add anybody. However, they do know there was some like extenuating circumstances, like maybe the kid was on a vacation or something like that and showed up late. I mean, those are things that people would understand. But they strongly encourage to not add numbers late, even though they know that probably it would happen. But again, we don't want to make that's the sticking point here, right? That's not the sticking point. We want to be able to go golf and compete and run our races. We don't wanna make that a sticking point. So if it's, you gotta wait till Monday, I mean, the kids can sign up until Monday, great.
I mean, it's just, under the COVID-19, I mean, everything's relaxed. I'm not, like I said, I think they need to be committed and serious, they've had plenty of notice, but then, you know, you may not get zero interest, zero.
Can you start, if we extend it to Monday, can you start practicing tomorrow, or do you have to wait
Yeah.
until Monday to practice?
We can start practice tomorrow. We could have started practice last Monday.
Right, I got that.
Okay, folks, we need to move on this.
I make a motion that we approve, fall sports being cross-country and golf.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve fall sports of golf and cross-country, effective immediately, I assume. Any questions on the motion, any discussion? Yeah,
Can I add to it? Is it okay if I add to it?
add to it.
Discussion?
Let's see, what you'll have to
I
have.
can send, I mean, I would be more than happy to send out another email stating that kids could have a sign up through Sunday night.
Would you like to amend your motion to include sign up through Sunday night?
I will make a motion that we do fall sports being cross-country and golf with a sign-up that extends through Sunday evening, I don't know what date that is,
7 o'clock Sunday.
at 7 o'clock.
Sunday. Will you approve
That's
that
awful
for a
wording.
second?
Could you get that all down exactly how I said it?
Did you get that, Beth?
Yes, a second.
Beth will allow this, her second to follow that motion. So we have a motion and a second to approve fall sports of golf and cross-country with a sign-up deadline of this coming Sunday at 7 p.m. Everyone understand that motion? Any questions or further discussion? We'll call the roll, please.
Houston,
Yes?
Wild Tillman,
Yes.
Shannon,
Yes.
Beth, Anders,
Yes.
Weir, yes.
Motion carries. And now we move on to item 10E, which is track shooting.
We could put trap shooting and bass fishing together, if that's okay. Is that all right?
Trap shooting and bass fishing.
I'd ask to put trap shooting on because they're a sport that gets no assistance from us. And then bass fishing's in the same boat.
No pun intended.
Oh.
Anyway,
You're not getting enough oxygen, I don't think.
I don't think so. So the attorney said basically that we could send a letter to the trap shooting team and the bass fishing team, making sure that they acknowledge that they were not an Illini West sport, but the Illini West School Board would like to help sponsor them.
Or we could decide not to sponsor them at all.
Correct.
How many kids were signed up for bass fishing?
Do you know how many were in bass fishing? Zach, there were several, I believe.
Who actually signed up this past spring?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure if we ever actually made it to official sign up because of the pandemic, but I would say that generally, year to year, you probably get about 8 to 10 to 12 kids maybe show some interest in being a part of the bass fishing team. And then I don't know exactly how Mr. Northup would pick his squad to go to the one sectional meet they have every year. Sometimes there would be 2 boats that would go to sectional, sometimes just 1 boat. I really don't know how exactly it was selected.
What is that season?
It is in the spring, and it's currently an IHSA activity technically. It's technically not a sport. It's technically an activity.
You got any information on the trap shooting?
I really don't. Mr. Hartwig reaches out to me every now and again, you know, my understanding with trap shooting is it really has never been associated necessarily with Illini West. It's called the Illini West Trap Shooting Program. But I would get we would provide them with letters or pins or a letterman jacket.
I believe the Journal Pilot had an article on them today, the trap shooting. They received a grant from, I'm not quite sure, maybe NRA, got them
50 cases of
50
ammunition.
boxes of
Shell.
ammunition or whatever.
Yeah.
And,
I'm not 100% on what it is.
and that they have 30 members on the team. And I have managed to go to a couple of those events, and it is very well handled, and there's absolutely no goofing around for obvious reasons. But they do as well as any adult would do in a trap shooting situation. I just really think that they do an excellent job, and I think that the gun club out here, obviously having a high school sport or activity, and certainly much the same with golf and those sorts of things, we get support from the local clubs because they're looking for future members also. So we got a bass fishing with 8 to 12 students of ours. They do tag themselves as Illini West Bass Fishing Team. State champions not too long ago. And I think it's similar with the trap shooting team, that they are also Illini West Chargers, if I'm not mistaken. And we have not supported them in the past because they were, in a sense, outside of IHSA sanctioning. But we've had a request from one of the board members, and I think he probably had support from some of the public, that we should do something, since we're awfully proud of these two clubs, and that we should do something to provide them a little bit of financial support. And I believe that's the reason that these two items are on our discussion action agenda. And if anybody has any comments or would like to have a question or two,
Yeah, I'd ask him, you talked about the letter, accompanying that letter, would a person make a motion to make a donation then? Do you have any idea? You have a dollar amount, or no dollar amount or none, whether you approve it or not?
I know
don't
bass fishing, the main expense for them is gas. Boats take a lot of gas.
So they could be two different,
They could be two different things. I think trap shooting is probably more expensive,
yes.
I'm guessing. I don't do either.
What do we pay per stipend per sport, per coach?
Head coach.
Is it like $300 or $3,500?
Do you know, Zach?
As far as the stipend goes, it would depend on the exact sport. Some, I can tell you our contract right now, some sports, I think they're broke down into tiers. There's a tier 1 or tier 2.
How about a minor sport?
Head coach, so like cross country golf, head coach
Yep.
for cross country golf, I think it's like $2,800 right now, maybe.
2,800?
Roughly, give or take. Year one, and then.
But they
and then
practice every
three
day
years,
and they
you
have-
bump up like a couple $100 or whatever.
And you practice every day in a normal year, how many meets do you have?
How many meets, golf meets?
Or cross country, either one?
Cross country, I mean, it would, 10 cross country meets, probably 18 to 20 golf matches. Yeah. So,
And how long of a period is a normal season?
the golf would run from August 10th through, I mean, if you had somebody making, you just talk the regular season. Regular season starts, Christine, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm gonna say October 14th or something like that, roughly?
Right around the 20th.
Okay, so you're talking, a couple months, whatever. Cross country would be similar. I think maybe it actually might go a couple weeks longer now.
And I don't know how long they do the trap shooting. Do you, Ken?
I believe it's, I'm gonna say month and a half, maybe 2 months, because it's blended on the shoots and the state competition and stuff.
Did you have a dollar amount in mind?
No, I was just thinking about, what we pay for a stipend for a sport. Some sports we end up with 4 coaches, some sports 1. I mean, hearing like the, what you're saying, the 2,800, I mean, us to throw something out there. I don't know why it would be, you know, against anything to possibly donate 2,500 to the trap team. And, you know, looking at the number of kids, and you have 30 this year, a lot of years they mentioned they had 40 kids. I mean, if I was to throw something out, I would say 2,500, and then I don't know what goes on exactly in the bass fishing. I have not heard from them. It just, when Keith spoke there a couple months ago, I was kind of surprised to hear what he had to say.
Do you know, Zach, if they practice fishing or?
So bass fishing actually, I think it's actually addressed in our contract. If I'm not mistaken, they get reimbursed for gas, for mileage, is what I think currently says in our contract. Now, don't quote me, it could have changed. At one point, that's what it said.
So bass fishing's a mute point.
I'm 90% sure it's actually addressed in our contract. Bass fishing has actually been supported by the school for, I mean, as far as recognized as an official IHSA activity for a long time. I mean, it wouldn't be an IHSA state champ in 2010 if that wasn't the case. That was our second year involved in bass fishing, actually, because the year before that was the first year of bass fishing. So, but you asked about practice. I don't remember if it's either Tuesday or Wednesday. Tuesday or Wednesday was always their practice, and whatever the practice was consisted of, I don't know exactly. I would always have a baseball player or two who would miss Tuesday or Wednesday's practice, just one day a week, to go to the bass fishing practice. A lot of times they would end up coming to the second part of baseball practice. And again, I think they might have had, you know, there was always just the IHSA sectional that they had. That was really their only true meet or tournament or whatever you would call it. And I think over the years there was a couple times where maybe a group of them might have gone to a separate tournament, maybe just gone fishing even for the day. I mean, nothing official. So that's bass fishing, and trap shooting is always something it's always, for the most part, it happens during the summertime. I think it's really outside of the school calendar for the most part. It's not even necessarily. I don't know if it's even addressed in the student handbook. I don't know off the top of my head. Mr. Short, you're the handbook expert. You ever see trap shooting run across in there?
The only thing it's in there about is just listed as an activity.
Yeah.
There's nothing specific
Okay.
about it.
So, I mean,
Is it listed as an upcoming sport on IHSA stuff or anything?
it is, but you can't. But the only So there's this on the IHSA website. There's a list of emerging sports. Okay, and a couple examples is esports, competitive gaming, and like girls wrestling is one emerging sport, and they have trap shooting on there. But you can only say that your school is participating in this emerging sport if the sport is happening during a certain time frame, and ours doesn't happen in that time frame. So there's no. It is listed as a possible emerging sport, but the time frame in which, I don't even want to say our school, if it's necessarily affiliated with school, I don't really know. When our kids do it, it's not within that time frame right now.
We have competitions though from other schools, is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that during the summer or is that?
It's held during the summer, like you mentioned, July.
But they do have
July,
competitions
August.
though. Yeah.
They have other schools that come and participate. And it's out of state schools also come and participate at it.
Yeah.
But I will say they have a lot of expenses. They also have nice uniforms, shirts that list who they are, and we also have Keith talk. But I would say there's probably also 5 or 6 volunteers that are there weekly. But I just feel, after hearing his speech, that we should be donating something.
It affects a lot of kids.
So what I'm interested in is if we were to approve $2,500 for each one of these activities.
Well, it didn't sound like we need to do anything with bass fishing.
No.
It sounds like it's covered.
Right.
Okay. So if we approve $2,500 for the trap shooting, is that for expenses or are we actually going to pay a coach?
donation to them, they can spend however they want, correct?
You can't really do that.
Yeah, we can't, we don't wanna do that, I don't
We just have
think.
to, we just have to
Just
hand
donate.
it to them and they have to do what they want with it.
That's the way I got from that letter
Yes,
that we
I
got
did
from
too.
the attorney.
Yep. And with the letter like Kim addressed,
You know, they do fundraisers just like the other sports and try to take care of themselves, but I just thought maybe it's time to show a little.
have a positive effect on kids. I mean, it does have a positive effect on kids. Gun safety and teaches them safety and all.
Okay, so what are we gonna do then?
You gonna make a motion?
I will make a motion that we give a donation to the trap shooting club of $2,500.
I'll second it.
With the stipulation that they sign a letter as approved by our attorney.
As required.
Is that all right?
That covered, wouldn't
That's
it, Kim?
part of the motion?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
Second that
Yep.
addition?
What's that language?
I thought you
To
could
donate
just make that
$2,500
up.
to the
Yeah.
trap shooting team.
With the
With the
stipulation that,
stipulation that they sign a letter approved by our attorney that,
what Kim said.
whatever the letter's supposed to say. I don't have the letter.
Yeah.
Stipulation that the letter indicates that they understand that this is a donation and that they're not a part of Illini West and so on and so forth, and we accept no liability for that. Something. Whatever the lawyer approves.
So, the motion to donate $2,500 to the trap shooting team with the stipulation that they sign the approved, the letter provided by the district attorney.
Correct.
All right?
Mhm.
You all right? with
Yep,
that?
I'm out of that.
So,
Everybody understand the motion?
who was the first, who was
Shannon and me.
Shannon and then you?
Okay. And, any more discussion or questions? We'll call the roll, please.
Houston,
Yes.
Wild Tillman,
Yes.
Shannon,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Anders,
Yes.
Leah, yes.
And move on to item number 11, which is executive session. And, we have an executive session for, it's actually the personnel item, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body, legal counsel, include accounting firm, hearing testimony on complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against a legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. So I need a motion.
I'll make a
go into
motion to
executive
enter
session.
executive session.
Second,
I will.
all right. Call the roll, please.
Wild Tillman,
Yes.
Shannon,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes,
Beth,
Yes.
Anders,
Yes.
Leah, yes.
and it's about 5 minutes after. We'll take a 5-minute